Hi, welcome everyone. So you raise your children and you do it well. And then actually, if you've done your job really well, they're all prepared to take that next step into life, which for many is college. But are they really prepared for college? Are you really prepared for college? And to watch them go out the door, of course, that's the tough part for us. But there's the other side of the equation, and you want to know when they're at college that they're safe and they're sound and that they've got a good plan in place. So stick around today because we have a wonderful guest, Dale Troy, who's going to share some really insights and some solutions and some secrets about what you can expect and how your child can be so supported during that amazing journey of going to college. Hi, my name is Cheryl Bassett, and I am founder of Unstoppable Connections, international bestseller, and creator of the award-winning Family Meeting Toolkit. I am also the host of this show, Kitchen Table Conversations, as part of the Edge Network. My family went on a journey and we created something called the 4 gifts. And those 4 gifts create an unshakable, unbreakable foundation for families. And we tap into those as part of the show. But so if you want to learn more about the 4 gifts or part of my work that I'm doing for connecting families, you can go to unstoppableconnections.com. And if you have an idea for the show or you want to be on the show, you can go to kitchentableconversations.com and connect with me directly. So let's start the show, right? I like to set an intention for every show because I think it's really important. So this show does the fun stuff to the tough stuff and everything in between. It's really designed to ignite a conversation, strengthen our families, and to create a positive ripple out into the world. So it's with that intention that we wrap around something, the fourth gift, which is the gift of love. And the gift of love is when we choose to celebrate ourselves and others. So with that, we come today with an open heart, an open mind, and a true celebration of the person who's coming here today to share their wonderful talents, gifts, and passions with us on their journey. And that is Dale Troy. Now, before I bring her up and you all get to meet her, let me just read her bio a little bit. She is a mom to 3 daughters. She's a former lawyer, former headhunter for lawyers. She's also a graduate of Yale College and Yale Law School. Following her passion, though, she had this passion for healthy living. She decided to become a health coach 6 years ago. And so she focuses now on helping students and their parents manage the stress of college. Dale believes that students do not have to suffer from the unmanaged stresses and have that overwhelmed feeling. She teaches students how to successfully transition to college so that they can have control over the college life and to create this positive, amazing experience that college should be for everyone. Her website is appropriately named crushcollegestress.com. And I'm going to bring her on now because who better, right, would be able to talk about the stresses of college than somebody who went to law school, right? So I'm sure you have firsthand experience, and then obviously you can talk about why that's led you to this journey that you're on now.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. Yes, I have firsthand experience from myself and also from my daughters. So for me, I will say that I was very stressed in college. Of course, nobody was using that word at the time. You know, it was people, I think in my generation, people just kind of sucked it up and just knew what they had to do. And just the expectations were, you just do it. You get through it. But fast forward, my 3 daughters all went to Yale as well. And there was a lot of stress. And I think there was actually much more stress just getting into college than what I had. So they arrived at college already feeling stressed. And the anxiety and the, comparing themselves to everybody started to just boil up. So I saw that happen. And then a friend of mine asked me to work with her daughter because she was stressed in Boston College. And it just kind of came to me that there's a real need here. And the more I did research on what was going on college campuses, the more I realized that, this whole generation is feeling much more pressure, much more, anxiety about their life going forward. And they were struggling with the college transition. So, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, and I mean, I could be wrong on this, but it just seems like even I feel like everything's gone up a notch. Like even when even preschool's gone up a notch, kindergarten's gone up, like middle school, element, all those things. I just feel like everything's kind of taken the next leap forward. And so by the time you get to college, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's a lot. And of course that's a whole new world, right? And I know some of the things we're going to talk about today are things that I don't think parents maybe think about, right? As being so different. Like, okay, yes, they're off on their own, but what's now missing in their life that they've sort of been depending on, that they didn't, like it's a lot of things that were in place for them. So I know that's part of what we're going to talk about today. So, but hey, congratulations, you got 3 daughters in college. And the other thing I want to say is that, and I love it because I think it's beautiful when the journey that we're on and how we're helping and sharing with other people is something that we didn't necessarily set out to do. It evolved because it was the right path for us. And that's what happened to you. Like somebody said, well, wait a minute, can you help me? And now here you are.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I feel like everything kind of came together for me to be doing this. Even, my legal background, not necessarily, but I was a headhunter for lawyers for 10 years. And that was all about coaching and in developing relationships in working with somebody and helping them get a better job. So I love that rapport. I love that one-on-one coaching aspect. Right. So I'm getting to do that in this business as well.
That's great. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, so I know that we are going to, and it's in the links for those of you who are watching and or if you're listening, there's a link in there where you're giving away in fact, I'll put it up here. 6 secrets to a successful first year in college, right? And that's really what we're going to talk now. So are the majority of people that you're working with, is it really like it is their first year, or have you found that they go their first year and they're all stressed out and they're coming to you in their second year trying to figure out a different strategy, or is it a little bit of both?
I'd say it's a little bit of both, but I actually think the ideal time would be prior to going to college, like the summer before, when, the problem is the parents and the kids are so excited that they got through it. They know where they're going. They're shopping for their dorm and all these fun things. And they're not really thinking about, well, what is it going to be like when I get to college? What should I be thinking about? How do I prepare myself? They do have orientation on college campuses, but I don't think that's enough. That's more about, how do you sign up for classes and where do you go for whatever, the gym or whatever it is. And I think that something needs to happen in between, knowing where you're going to college and getting there.
Right.
So that's the ideal time, but for sure, if somebody's having a struggle in senior year, they can.
Yeah, they can tap in.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, when you go to college, I think you're sort of just like thinking about the long-term strategy, right? Like, what am I going to be? And, whatever but there's the day-to-day challenges, right? That just are going to pop up, and how do you prepare for those? So let's just dive in a little bit to some of those. I know that you had, the first one is to create a plan.
Yeah. Yes.
So talk a little bit about what that looks like.
Okay. Well, as you said, I think maybe kids are thinking about, well, I want to be on the pre-med track, or I want to major in history, or whatever it is. But they really need to think about, what do I want out of college as a whole? Do I want to explore other interests of mine? Do I want to do something creative? Do I want to, get involved in a charity? I mean, other parts of themselves other than the academic. And also, who do they want to be? It's a chance to reinvent yourself. Like if you weren't happy about how it went in high school, it's a chance to say, I'm going to be more studious. I care about my grades, or, I want to be more social and I want to get involved in lots of things. So, you really have to think about it. Don't just let things happen to you.
Right.
Make a plan for yourself.
So, so they put the plan in place, and then I know you, which obviously it's funny because obviously these are life skills for life too, right? Mm-hmm. If they learn them here, they're going to definitely learn them. How to use them later, because the next one you have is to how to manage time.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. And so what does that look like in terms of like, do you sit down and really help them divide that, like set that schedule? Or
I do. I really insist on using a planner, because especially when you get to college, there's just too much going on, and it's easy to mess up. So if you have a planner with everything scheduled in it, including when you're going to eat, and then you can fill in like when you're going to exercise, when you're going to study, everything about your day. I think, especially for freshmen, they think that there's so much time because they're not used to having so few classes. So they think, oh, I'll just do it. I'll just wing it. But then they find themselves behind in classes or, missing appointments and so forth. And they don't, they just aren't functioning at their highest level.
Right. Right. So having that plan, having a planner, and it's funny because are you talking about like a physical planner?
I believe in physical planner. Yeah. And I use that myself. I don't know if you do.
Like I'm like, it's hard, like I'm right now trying to shift into a little bit more of using Google calendars.
Okay.
How I'm scheduling, but it's about driving me crazy because I like my physical.
Yeah. The physical one works. It works better. I mean, in terms of the connection with your mind and just being able to see it there. Of course, some students only want to do it on their phone or something, but there are ways to do it on your phone. But I prefer the actual.
I do too. I still do my blocks of time on my physical calendar. So yeah.
And the other thing about the planner is, if I said to somebody, well, you got to write in everything, and they're going to think, well, then I'm not going to have any free time. But the opposite is the case. Yeah. When you see everything you have to do, then you see where your free time is, and then you can use it appropriately.
Yeah, you use it more wisely, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's great. And now we're going to talk about something which I guess in some part of your journey, you kind of got back into the health piece, right? And you were a coach. So obviously that allows us to really dig in, but I think this is a big one, right? What is it they always say, the freshman 15?
Yes.
Yeah. And we know that might be, something they're not supposed to even be consuming at that point, but whatever. But what does that look like in terms of how you help them with the
Well, I go over really the essential things that you need to think about to stay healthy. And it's not just, it's not about appearance. It's about having, your mind working well and being able to focus and having enough energy. And so it involves what you're eating, how much sleep you're getting. And I help them create a whole sleep routine so that they get, good sleep, quality sleep. Exercise is really important. And then I emphasize that exercises can just be walking. I mean, it doesn't have to be going to the gym, but you need to move your body.
Yeah.
And drinking enough water. That's something that people often don't think about. But if you don't have enough water, I mean, it can affect everything. Every time my daughter says to me, she has a headache, I'll say, well, how much water have you had today? And invariably, she's barely had any.
Yeah, there's a book called You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. And I feel like, and you don't even have to read the whole book. You just pick out the chapters that sort of, but yes, headaches, even weight loss, just feeling good, energized, instead of like getting up and having coffee, like drink water, right? So I'm sure some are like, there's no way I'm not drinking coffee, but but to get up and have water, actually, I think that can give you energy that you don't expect to get from that, but it does. And so
exactly. Yeah. I'm a big believer in water. In fact, I always have my water with me.
Yeah, I do too. Mine's my friend's cup right now.
Oh, okay.
So just little things really, but the basics of
the basics. Yeah. And as you said, I mean, these are all things that they should be doing for their whole life. So it's not like, let's just do this for college. This is something that they should be learning all in and to, going forward.
Yeah. But I think your next point that you're bringing up that we're talking about is, so to some degree at home, right, you had the parent who was probably saying, you need to eat, like it's dinner time, or, it's drink more water, or whatever. I mean, you had that structure in place. Right? Now it's up to you. Your college, it's up to you, right? So is that what you talk about when you're saying like have the support network in place, or?
Yeah, well, when I'm working with someone, I'm the support person. I'm like an accountability buddy. And I will say that, it's much easier for me to work with someone else's child than to work with my own.
Yeah.
And that's a fallacy that I think, like I have a group for parents called College Parent Support Community on Facebook. And a lot of them are there because they want to help their kids, and they, their kids are having some issues in college, and I'm giving them all these tips and so forth. But I keep hearing, well, my child won't listen to me, or they won't respond to me, or, I don't really know what they're doing. So that's kind of where I come in. They will listen to me because I'm a third party.
Right.
So even though, they may have been told through their whole life that you need to eat more fruits and vegetables, but they're not paying attention to their parent. But if they're talking to me and I'm talking to them every week and I'm texting them in between sessions, then I'm reminding them, and I think they feel like they need to do it.
Yeah. It must be human nature in some ways, and it's not, because it's not just kids. And I think parents think it's kids not listening, but we joke here because my husband's mom, and she's passed away now, but when she was there, he would always say, eat more salmon. It'd be really good for you. You're diabetic and it's just a healthy thing. And he would try to get her to make healthier food choices. And he must have said it 500 times, and it never went anywhere. And then one day she goes, you know what Dr. Oz said? Oh my God, are you serious? How many times? But I still think him saying it, and I think parents have to realize that even them saying it, when they finally do hear it from somebody else,
yes,
then it's kind of like, oh, you know what? Mom and Dad always did say that was an important thing for me to be doing. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So, but I do think it's sort of human nature, the third party, like you said, sort of stepping in and helping out makes a big difference. So support network, does that encompass some other things?
Yes, support network. Well, as you said, a little while ago, you said that, they're leaving their home and they're moving, they're having a new home environment on college, the campus. So my concept of support network is finding all those pieces that make them feel secure, make them feel like they're supported, that they, they're not alone, that people care about them. So I actually have 4 categories that I talk about. One is their peers, whether that's, people they meet in class or in the dorm or in a club, etc. Then professors. It's really, people don't really think about this, but it's so important to connect with professors, and they love connecting with kids. So I always tell my students to go to office hours, because not that many will go to office hours. And if you do that, you can really develop a good relationship with the professor. That will help you just feel more engaged in the class. It will also can lead to getting an internship or getting a reference from, a letter from a professor because they know you. So that's a really great thing to do. Then, God, I'm trying to remember what my third one is.
That's all right.
I know. The residential assistant in the dorm, because, there's always going to be dorm issues, whether it's a roommate problem or whatever it is. And there are people that live in the dorm that are supposed to help you. But a lot of kids, including my kids, they didn't hardly knew who the dorm person was. So it's really nice to know that person. Then you feel like, you're kind of coming home and they're in the dorm, and that's a nice feeling. And then the last one is the health center. I think it's also really important for parents to feel like their kid is safe. So if they can, get to know how to use the health center, how do you make an appointment, where is it, what's involved, because it's often a little complicated.
Right.
And, then when they need to go, they know already. So, that's something that I recommend that they do right away.
It sounds like in this category specifically too, you're talking about really being proactive, because I think sometimes the college professors or, the RA or all those, you've kind of well, I wouldn't go to them unless I had a problem.
Yes.
Right. That's what would prompt it, instead of saying, hey, let's just go connect and get to know them. Right. That way, when there is a problem, you already know them, number one. But number two, it's just why wouldn't you want to just, have that conversation? Like you said, it might bring up internships and all kinds of things because they know you. So, so that sounds like it's just a more proactive thing to do. And I think most kids would probably say, well, I'll go to my, professor when I don't like a test or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's the wrong time to go.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I like that. That's really proactive stuff. And I think that's really good. Now, the next one I know that you talk about, which is one of your big, well, it's kind of like the whole focus of some of it, right? Is how do we manage the college stress?
Right. I wanted to bring up some statistics that I have written down here because when I started researching what was going on in college campuses, I was kind of shocked. I mean, I didn't know it was that bad because my experience was, seeing my daughters and their friends. So here, the American Institute of Stress did a recent survey of college students and found that 80% said they experienced frequent stress. I mean, that's enormous. They're all walking around feeling stressed.
Yeah.
And then there's something called the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. And they said in their survey, and these are all like very recent within the last year or so, 30% of their population said stress affected their academic performance. 42% said anxiety was their main concern. 85% said they felt overwhelmed by everything they had to do. And that's kind of like a time management issue. Yeah. And I think that can easily be corrected. Mm-hmm. And 25% were on medication for anxiety or depression. And then...
Which is depressing.
I know.
Yeah.
And then the American College Health Association said that in their study, more than 60% experienced overwhelming anxiety in the past year. And 40% felt so depressed they had a hard time functioning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, I've seen headlines that say we're having a mental health crisis on college campuses, and I see that.
And this is supposed to be this big, amazing, wonderful, life fulfilling journey that they're on, and where they really should be flourishing, right? But how are you going to do that when you're on drugs and you're stressed out and you're depressed? I mean, so I think that's a big and are there, I guess, and I don't know if this is necessarily in your notes or not, but are there like the warning signs that you talk to parents about just to kind of know, like, how do they recognize that in their child?
That's a good question. I mean, everyone is going to look differently if they're experiencing those. So I can't tell you for sure, but some of the things to look for would be, weight gain or weight loss. That's significant. Feeling tired all the time, missing classes, having like headaches and migraines and things like that, or stomach aches a lot. And maybe just, sensing that their mood isn't the same as what your parent is used to.
A little more, maybe a little more disconnected or something in terms of connection, that connection. Yeah,
that could be. Yeah.
So I would say to the parents, like, really, like, just be in tune.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Because you have to let your kids go. The hardest 3 weeks for me was when my oldest son went to college, and I let him have his space, right? Because I didn't want to like blow up his phone and worry and whatever. And I needed to let him. But about 3 weeks later, he started calling me and whatever. And to this day, he calls me. I mean, it's rare that I actually call my kids because they call me. Wow. And I think so I think just allowing them that space and that time to do it is so important, because it is their first. For them, it's just liberating, right? To be out on their own. But you don't want that to turn into a nightmare for them either. So how do you like support? And I think if you let them have the space initially, but then obviously, continue that communication, that for me, that was like a really big thing in our relationship. So, and now it's great, right? And my two boys are different too. And I'm sure this is true too. Like my oldest son, he's a more stressful kid, right. And my youngest son thinks everything's fun and game and whatever. I mean, I laugh because my oldest son's Brian and my younger son's David, and David's like the carefree, go lucky, whatever. Mm-hmm. And Brian always just goes, man, I want to live in David's world. It's nicer. And we joke about that, but that's just the difference in personalities too, which I'm sure also play into how stressed a child doesn't get as well, which Right. So you already know your kid has like that, like Brian, I knew that right when he went to college, that he already had a propensity towards having more anxiety. So I think that would be another thing just to know about your child in general, to keep an eye maybe differently for that, right?
Right. So when I work with someone, I mean, I give them like a whole range of possibilities of how to manage stress, and there's like so many. I can throw out some ideas right here. And everything from meditation to yoga, walking in nature, listening to music, aromatherapy, deep breathing, massage, just exercise. There's so many different ways. So what I end up doing is I have them try a couple of things that they resonate with, and then they find one or two that really work for them, and those are what they're going to incorporate into their daily life.
Right.
And also use, when they're having, like, if they feel like they're having a panic attack. I thought of one girl that, she just loved the deep breathing. It worked for her like right away.
Yeah.
So she, she knew it just made her feel more in control, because she knew that if she started to have a panic attack, that she knew what to do.
Yes. Yeah. Putting some things in place that allow you to be more proactive, which I think a lot of your stuff seems to be. It's really stepping into a proactive stance around it, so that when things happen, you're prepared. And I think it's like the perfect way to do it, right? Instead of waiting until the crisis hits and then trying to figure it out. So, I know a lot of this is in your little giveaway, which we already talked a little bit about. So those of you, you're going to be able to see that link in the show notes about where you can go and download, again, the 6 secrets to a successful first year in college. But it could be any year in college, but specifically the proactive would be the first year. And then your website, to crushcollegestress.com. And then I know the last one you had, that again, and there's so many more ideas I know in your little handout. So please, if you guys have a kid going to college, just download this little mini book that she's put together, but growth mindset. Now, what is that?
Well, I think we all tend to look at the world naturally in a more negative way. That's just how we were built, to protect ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I think kids at that age tend to do it more. They're like very critical of themselves and other people, and I think what can happen in college is, if things don't go well, it starts to be like a downward spiral, like, oh, I'm not good at this, or, I can't do it. And there are a lot of kids that drop out as freshmen. Mm-hmm. But if you go in thinking, these challenges, these things that are hard, they're lessons. It's okay to fail. And I think this generation also lacks resilience. They haven't really been allowed to fail as much as maybe my generation or our generation. Yeah. So they're afraid of failure, and they take it, really take it to heart. So if you go in with thinking, college is just a positive experience, and everything is an experience and a learning and a growth time, and not get tripped up by some failure, some mistakes, and that's really going to help.
Yeah. So I know there's a book one time that I had my oldest son read again, because I knew he sort of had this, this narrative that goes on in his head about, with anxiety stuff. And it was called Failing Forward. And that, that failing is really our gift. It's, because that's how we learn. And we also decide what we want and what we don't want, and, what really works for us and what doesn't work for us. And it's really, it's just a journey of experience. And I think instead of looking at it as, success versus failure, you look at it as this path that kind of unfolds, and you get to discover along that path what's really, good for you. And it's your chance to learn, right? Because that's what it's about, is that constant learning experience. So, so I think that's great. And keeping them in that mindset, which is really a little bit of a mind shift for, for a lot of them. So, no, that's great. So, we are almost at our time. But I always close the show with, and I'm going to already apologize to you, because I don't think I told you this, but surprise. No. So we like to talk about like a drop of thought. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, sometimes you need to hear 40 times that you need to drink more water. And maybe that 40th time it gets to be, Dr. Oz again, who says it. But the 39 drops of thought that somebody shared about needing to drink more water was still important, right? Because you might not have heard that one if you hadn't heard the other 39, right?
Right.
So we just offer a little drop of thought. So if you don't have one, that's fine. But if you think something come to mind that you would just say, maybe to the parents or maybe to the kids, what would be that little drop of thought that you would just want to share with them on their journey?
Yeah, I guess I would like to say that rather than being nervous about going to college, if you can open up your mind to the journey and the experience that you're going to have, and if you can go in it, having some control over your life and feeling like it's your decisions and your behavior is going to affect it, then everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Don't let things happen to you. You let things happen. You make it happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think that's great. And sorry about that but no, that's perfect. And again, I'll bring up again that your website is crushcollegestress.com. That's crushcollegestress.com. I'm saying it because some people listen to this, not just see it.
Okay.
So, and because sometimes people go, well, I can read, not if you're listening. So anyway, that's the website. Definitely check out again in the notes is her little downloaded 6 steps for the first year being successful in college. 6 secrets, actually. She shared a bunch of stuff with us today, but there's more in that. You'll want to get a copy. Thank you for being on the show. It was really great to have you here and to share this. I'm sure it'll help some families.
Well, I hope so. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So I always just end the show by saying, in a world where we can be anything, be kind. Thanks everyone for being here.